on some tips and some advice and some recommendations on how we can pass on information for people to stay safe, primarily financially. But before I do that, there's just one area that I want to cover of physical abuse, because there is one particular crime of physical abuse of elders that I see time and time again. The major perpetrator of physical elderly abuse in San Diego County is a son. And the victim is his widowed mother. I have prosecuted over 100 of these sons to the point where I can almost predict what the case is going to be about. The son is one of three types of sons. He's either the son that is divorced and come back to live at home because he doesn't have enough money to pay rent for himself, or he's the son who's just been released from jail or prison. And as you have probably read, since October of last year, we have concerns that under what is called realignment, we are now releasing low-level felons out onto the streets of San Diego much more quickly than we ever did. And you know why that is? Because since October of last year, there has been a massive change in the criminal law in California that requires certain offenses to be punished with maybe a long prison term, but the prison term is going to be served in local jail here in San Diego. So what happens to the county jail here? The accommodation increases. What does the sheriff have to do? The sheriff has to release low-level prisoners more quickly in order to bring in these prisoners who are serving 5, 6, 8, 10 years in the local jail. So we're seeing more of these low-level felons getting released early and going back. And where do they go? They have nowhere to go except to their widowed mother's house. The third type of son is the son who is single and he's never ever left home. He's typically aged between 45 and 55 and he lives at home with his widowed mother. Now why does he do that? Because in the vast majority of my cases that I prosecute, this son is lazy. And whenever I talk to his mother, the victim, I say, how come your son isn't working? She says, he tells me he has a medical condition. I say, let me guess. He's got a bad back. She said, how did you know? And I say, it comes from sitting on your sofa 8 hours a day with your TV remote, watching your television. And I know I'm being a little cynical here, ladies and gentlemen, but it's true. These sons also have an addiction. It's either drugs, typically methamphetamine, gambling, or alcohol, typically beer or vodka. And because those addictions cost money, where do they get their money from? I'll tell you where they get their money from. First of all, they steal their mother's jewelry. They pawn it. They then steal their mother's debit card. They use it. They steal their mother's checks. They forge signatures. And so it goes on until the mother confronts them. And what happens? Violence. The son hits his mother and she ends up in the urgent care, and that's how we get to find out about it. That is a very classic scenario. And sometimes you add in some mental illness problems and it's a recipe for disaster. But in any event,